we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you listen to Friday's show, you're going to hear a familiar voice as Yami Swoot, aka Jamie Sweet, takes up the first few minutes of the show talking about the recent release of Baldur's Gate 3. He is so excited he had to talk about it, and he did so on our PC Multiverse. That's available wherever you get your podcasts on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. Plus, also as well, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Fantasy football is around the corner, so go ahead and make sure you get your info and tips for your fantasy football league right here for us at Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Plus, also as well, Game Source, of course, LakersBall.com. Joe Soro, Ox1947, unfortunately, will most likely not be here today because, let me see, his note said, internet outage in my area, been jacked since 1 p.m. today. Strong chance I won't be able to get on tonight. The 5G Verizon over here is absolutely worthless and bad. He says a lot of other things, but unfortunately they have a lot of expletives attached to it, so I can't say what else he said about it, but he is probably not going to be on here tonight because the internet gremlins are there. So go ahead and check him out today at LakersBall.com. He's probably raging there as Ox1947. Plus, provided his internet still works, you can go ahead and check him out today at Simulates with the Y.com. Plus, also as well, our good friend John McCallion channel. Much props to him. 50 pounds lost, 80 pounds to go. So you can hear the great conversations and the inspirational words that he has for you waiting at the John McCallion channel. Our good friends LakerTom, and LakerTom has been very busy on Twitter, sharing his opinion on the various things going on in the world of Lakers. So go ahead and check out what he's doing today as the #1 Lakers blogger at Lakerholics.com. And of course, Jamie Sweet, his 5 Things articles also as well. And if he doesn't like what LakerTom is doing, he'll give him some grief, and you can find that out today at Lakerholics.com. But if you can go ahead and help us out, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers. I know I keep saying that on the last few episodes, but we're still almost. I know it's a dead time, but if you've got some friends or family or loved ones out there that truly enjoy the Los Angeles Lakers like we do, there's no better place to go than right here, the Lakers Fast Break. So you can go ahead, please, and get them to go ahead and subscribe today so that they can get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air. Even when Joe's not here, he's always here. He's right below Sean right now with the beady eyes. So go ahead and click on Joe today and subscribe today to the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Well, dog days continue here in August. Still triple digits here in Vegas, I will tell you that. But as we continue on, it's still getting hot and heavy in regards to what's going on with the Los Angeles Lakers. Tomorrow is the first day that the Lakers can go ahead and offer AD an extension, which we covered on the show earlier this week. All the particulars, it's going to be a 3-year, most likely around 167 and change $million. Yeah, when you get up that high, it doesn't really matter if you can't round off or not. But yeah, no. But he may be offered that here in the next 24 hours. Most likely he will be if you read the rumors that are out there. Whether or not he accepts, that's going to be a different story. But with all that said and done, one of the parameters he may ask before he signs is that the Lakers make an attempt to go ahead and try to find ways for him to play the 4 spot a little more often. And that seems to be the big debate among Lakers fans. We talked about it before a little bit about the conundrum the Lakers have with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And if Anthony Davis wants to play more 4, it's really hard to do with LeBron James, who at 38, 39 now, kind of has to play the 4 spot. He no longer really can do the 3 spot unless it's like he goes into the Wayback Machine like he does every once in a while during the regular season, but that's only for a few minutes. So the choice now is the Lakers and what they're going to do at that other spot in the front court. We talked about our thoughts yesterday about the starting lineup and what we think it could be, should be, might be, and will be when it comes to what is going on this season. But the conversation about the two big lineups doesn't seem to end. And that's even without Christian Wood not being on the team. There's more and more talk about Jackson Hayes possibly being in the starting lineup. I know that's going back and forth. One of actually LakerTom's favorite reporters are out there, bloggers. That's not him, although he is probably one of his own favorites. Jovan Buha from The Athletic. He had an article earlier today posted that why the Lakers' potential return to too big approach doesn't make sense. Well, he outlines it in great detail, puts out some numbers, as far as comparison with Anthony Davis at center, Anthony Davis at power forward, talking about the numbers going forward. Going forward, it's like, it's about maybe about a 1,300 word piece. Pretty nice, pretty good, pretty depth in detail. I'll give him that. Actually, very good for everybody out there. So if you go ahead and get a chance, you have actually a subscription to The Athletic. Go ahead and check it out today. Right there, why the Lakers' potential return to a too big approach doesn't make sense. But when he tweeted that out there, of course, LakerTom has to have his 2 cents. And LakerTom says, that's a great article by Jovan, but I still like the too big approach, Jackson Hayes. So today we're going to discuss that in detail right here on the Lakers Fast Break. And here today is a man who's not experiencing internet difficulty. He's a good man indeed. He did get out of Toronto traffic. He's the madman for Toronto. Just to go ahead and talk about two bigs, because it's too big for the Lakers. This is a good man indeed. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Sean, great to have you here. You're unmuted. You're ready to go. Rocking another awesome Lakers jersey. So I ask you, my friend, to be or not too big? Is that the question?
Yeah, that seems to be the big question, Gerald. And I think too not big, too not big.
Okay.
I
Because
would.
Gilbert is saying no. Tom Maroney, is saying yes to the too big. So we have our
Yeah,
little back and forth. Of course, Tom has been on that island in regards to trading Vando for Christian Wood. And he likes staying on those islands, so to speak, as far as what most other Laker fans prefer.
yeah, absolutely, Gerald. And obviously, we ask everyone to go read the article for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously make your own assessment, and please share with us what you guys think about it. But I think I can speak for Gerald when I say that um, it's pretty clear that when he was playing center, and we made the additions that we did, it was the best of both worlds because they played a better, efficient their identity as a defense, and they were also a much better half court offense because of it. And the reason was, Gerald, is because he played 99% of his minutes at center. And so the evidence is right there. And as I said in the comments, I think it would be difficult for him to make an argument with Coach Ham and the coaching staff, and even if Rob and Phil Handy, the development guys, are in there against playing the five, because we have all the evidence we need, Anthony. Like, we went to the Western Conference Finals with you playing 99% of the minutes at center with LeBron on one leg. So imagine the kind of efficiency we can create with you at the center position with a healthy LeBron and the new additions we've brought in. What say you? You're on mute, Gerald.
I will just say this right now. If the Lakers can just find a way to find that happy medium of someone who can fit and check off all the boxes, that would just end the story right there for you. But unfortunately, they can't. Christian Wood, in that starting lineup would fill a lot of needs. But then again, defensively, you're still putting yourself out there even more. If you bring Vando in, again, as we covered on yesterday's show, Vando, 6'10, 6'11, whatever he's grown to, that's great. But if he can't hit a jump shot, no matter what great defense he plays, he's going to be played off the floor in certain stretches. And then you got Rui Hashimura. Rui, 6'8", 250. I'll say right now, 240, 250 in that range. It's great, but he's not going to be able to guard threes. He's more comfortable guarding power forwards and even centers, depending on the center. You saw him guard Jokic and
Hmm.
do, at least at first, quite admirably on it. I mean, after course of a few games, they kind of figured him out. So that's one thing. But again, during stretches during the regular season, might work out for you. But then again, you don't have the rim protection that you would need if AD's not in the lineup right there and he's playing your 4 or 5. So again, the dynamic of all this is the fact that the Lakers need someone to fill that slot. They just don't have someone that's a perfect fit. It's like square pegs into the round holes, and we're trying to force it and make it fit. And if there's one thing that's going to hold us back from any type of greatness, although again we have a nice depth rotation of about 12 guys that could go ahead and give you some quality ball. But the perfect fit for the team is not there, my friend. And that's something, if there's any reason outside of injuries, is that will hold us back. That would be my first and foremost concern, is the fact that again, the starting lineup, there's not one person outside of what we see for the big four. There's not one person that can go ahead and be that, fill in that fifth slot perfectly anywhere in that rotation.
No, not at all, Gerald. It's going to be a redheaded stepchild at that spot until they actually either make a trade or find some stability and somebody solidifies their role in that slot. And you're right, it's going to be. It looks like it's just going to be another edition of trial and error with Darvin Ham in the backup center position, Gerald, because
Mhm.
also in the article, and again it's just just reading off what he's saying, it sounded like Rob is hopeful about the role that Jackson Hayes can play, not necessarily confident. And but I think that's the best and most measured approach because again, as we've talked about, Gerald, Hayes was available for a reason. At times he was either their third or fourth depth center. For some reason, Gerald, he lost the coaching staff's confidence himself, I think, and that's what I think led to a lot of him sitting on the pine when it really mattered for the Pelicans. But he's asked to play a specific role. I'm just not sure he has this. You you obviously want to try to recreate the mojo that JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard both had, Jill. But we also need to remember Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee both played sparingly in the series against the Houston Rockets, and then they both played sparingly. JaVale McGee exclusively, basically, uh, no minutes, basically, in the finals. So, I mean, even if Jackson Hayes does play the role that the Lakers want him to, I think it's ballooning uh, and kind of diluted expectation to expect Jackson Hayes to still overachieve at the role and still find his way playing meaningful minutes. I don't think that's going to be the case. Anthony Davis needs to be the player playing meaningful minutes for the Lakers at the center position in the playoffs. 99% of the minutes he played at center last year resulted in the Lakers going to the Western Conference Finals. There was no answer for him when Anthony Davis played the center position in the finals against the Heat. That's where our bread and butter is with Anthony Davis and the Lakers, Gerald. And you're right. It's about damn time that somebody tries to actually go under the hood now and really fix what's going on here because you need AD healthy for the playoffs. He averages 38 minutes a game and he averages 99 minutes at center. So that's 36, 37 minutes a night playing the center position in the playoffs. That's hard on your body and really hard on your mind. So I think they really need to find a suitable position, Gerald. And you're right. I think it's going to be, two or three guys picking up the load.
It's just incredible to see, all the different varying opinions out there. And once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you watching and listening. It is Magic Man Sean Grice and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We truly appreciate it. Please subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live, the latest Lakers Fast Break. It is amazing to see the differing opinions on exactly who they think should start alongside AD. Again, if you start two bigs, you put LeBron at the three, and LeBron at the three is just, it's asking a lot of a 38, 39-year-old individual to go ahead and guard individuals of that as far as along the wing is concerned. It just doesn't make logistical sense. I know that we had someone last night in the chat did a great job. It was a new listener, a new viewer, and I just truly appreciate him by bringing that and accentuating that. And it's a good point. I mean, if you put in two guys, even a Christian Wood, I've been more I think about even a Christian Wood. If you sign him, and you start him, you're still having a problem at guarding a three. There's just with this lineup, it's just not. It's talented.
Hmm.
It's good. It's effective.
Hmm.
It'll get by in the regular season. In fact, it'll probably do pretty good in the regular season. I'm still contemplating where they're going to land, but I have a feeling, the 46 and a half, I think they would go over if they were healthy. Just my opinion. But when it comes to what we saw from what Search says in the greatest chat room that's out there in the Lakers Fast Break, he is concerned that this is a playoff team. I'm not sure if it is a playoff team. We saw how far this team went in the playoffs, and they did meet their maker when it came to Denver. And this team is a really solid team. The problem is, can it achieve that next level of greatness with what they have? And doing a too big lineup, especially with someone who's a non-shooter, who is going to be dependent as far as being underneath, going to be a lob catcher, going to be someone in the dunker spot, going to be clogging up the lane because you already have LeBron taking 500 threes, and he's better improve his efficiency, or else it's really going to be another issue again. You have Anthony Davis, who, yes, he's working hard on on regaining his form, but even then, his form wasn't that great as far as when he stretched to three. Mid range was was his forte, and unfortunately that went away in recent years. So I don't know, my friend. I just think it's a very talented team. I think it's a very very talented starting lineup, but there's no perfect fit with what we have.
No, there isn't. There isn't. It's not a perfect fit. It's going to be a little awkward and a little weird. I mean, it's kind of like the island of misfit toys again, Gerald. Trying to find that elusive backup center that you need to have in order to make sure that you get the best output out of AD. Um, it's going to be difficult. You're right. I mean, a lot of this is just trial and error. But the reason why last year was so frustrating, I feel, Gerald, is because there was just such a redundancy of finding a backup. Like they went to Damian Jones, and then they went to Wendy Gabriel, and then they went to Mo Bamba. It's other than Bamba and his theoretical 3-point shooting, it was a lot of the same skill sets, the same flaws, the same deficiencies, and there's a reason why none of those three players worked out. So I think it's about time that I mean at least they're going back to the well and trying to see if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. If Jackson Hayes is that answer, maybe they know something we don't, but I just think you're right. The role is going to have to be aggregated by at least two or three bodies. It's not just going to be Jackson Hayes. It's going to be LeBron can play a small ball five in certain lineups. Rui has played a small ball five in emergencies. So uh, Colin Castleton, as Buha mentioned, I think it's just going to be kind of insert and see what works.
I mean, AD, if he wants to go back and play the four, he's going to have to wait until LeBron leaves or retires. I think that's what it's going to come down to because I'm coming to the realization quite quickly. And the stats on Buha in his article back it up that the days where he's playing the four are essentially over. And I think that he has to come to grips with that if he hasn't already. So that's, something that Lakers fans have to go ahead and come to grips with. It's just the fact that yes, he is not going to be anything other than the five going forward, unless LeBron leaves. Now, if LeBron leaves or retires or something happens, then again, you could go ahead and put a center in there, and that changes the dynamic of everything. But you need someone to go ahead and guard threes. What are you going to do, D'Angelo? If you're going to have, let's say, Jared Vanderbilt, okay, if he can't guard the one, if D'Angelo can't guard the one, then he's going to have to guard the three because he's tall enough to do that. Or do you have him guard the shooting guard and Austin Reeves move over to the? You just have to have some dynamic where the one, two, and the three spots are covered. Asking LeBron to run around screens 500 times a game at his age is not a smart or wise move.
No, he needs to basically be glued to who's ever playing the four and avoiding screens as much as possible, Gerald. I agree. It's kind of flipped from 2020. In 2020, the Lakers had the fortuitous destiny to have a backcourt that was very versatile from a defensive point of view. They had they had Alex Caruso, they had Avery Bradley. They could also throw KCP on twos and threes as well, Gerald. So there was a
Yeah, but
revolving
LeBron was
door.
playing more one
One, yeah, he
than
was.
anything.
He was. Well, that's changed too. But now we have an aggregate of like threes and fours, more tweeners who are fours than threes, and not a lot of versatility at the guard position. So again, that's another conundrum Ham has to deal with here because he's look, as much as people want to think that he may go to the two guard lineup, I think that's going to be spotty and sparing at best. I think teams he could play that style have to be very slow and methodical. Teams like the Knicks, teams like the Sixers, teams like the Bucks. You might be able to get away with that against teams such as the Heat, but and the Jazz. But really, a lot of Western Conference teams play a very four one out. The center needs to be able to shoot. And Gerald, let's be honest. Ham loves his three guard lineups. That's what we're gonna see. That's what we're gonna see. My guess is he's gonna go with a three guard lineup over a two big lineup if he has the choice to make.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is Gerald Glassford along with the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Thanks so much for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Big shout out to the chat. Everybody's coming in here. Lifted Condor. I know I said a hi to pretty much everyone there in the chat. Southern Comfort. Big shout out to you as well. Tears of Joy. Kurt is back in business here in the chat. He has a great question. How much playmaking do you foresee LeBron doing? And Kurt is like he since that year of the championship year where he did play a predominant amount of one and he wanted the ball in his hands quite a bit. He's gone to a system where he's allowed a lot more ball handling from the other guards. And I think we will see a predominant amount of ball handling from AR and also as well D'Lo and Gabe Vincent. I mean, those guys are going to take up the bulk of the normal, every day, every game, three quarters full of possessions. But when it comes to it, when LeBron wants to take the ball and when LeBron wants the ball, he's going to stop before he hits half court and ask for it after the, and the inbounds. He's going to ask for it. He's going to demand it and he's going to get it. So, how much playmaking do you foresee LeBron doing? I don't see what he once did, but still, as a four guy who's going to be out there hopefully 31, 32 minutes. I love to see Joe numbers under 30 and under, but I have a feeling they're still going to try and max it out in 31, 32, maybe even 33 minutes a game. I think we will see him playmaking still quite a bit. He will not go ahead and probably have 8, 9 assists like he used to in the old days. He'll probably just, again, if you get 5, 6 assists from him, I think that's still again, he's going to have his portion of playmaking and usage, but he'll have the ball still as much as he wants.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will, and deservedly so, because it's likely, Gerald, that he's coming back with a healthy foot, and quite frankly, even with his age, Gerald, and even with the diminishing returns on the athleticism, he's still a Brahma bull when it comes to pick and roll basketball. And while he's not the Godzilla that he used to be in the paint, he still commands respect, and I think he can average, at least probably 50 to 60% of his production in the paint. He doesn't have to live with shooting 7 threes a game, Gerald, and we all know that at least 3 or 4 of them will be ill advised. I think it's also incumbent upon him to understand that as well. I don't need to take bad shots anymore
Mhm.
because I have requisite shooters and cutters and creators around me where it doesn't feel like I have to waste possessions even if I'm tired and I'm just tapping out here and just half-assing it with a shot that you really shouldn't take, but instead of being 100% you're 80% and you think you need to bail the Lakers out. I just don't think that he should go in with that mindset, even though I get it. It's pride. He's a prideful man. He wants to be able to show people that he can still make those shots, but they're ill advised, Gerald. Most of his shots now are ill advised.
Well, again, this is based off of an article that was posted earlier today on the Athletic by the Athletics Lakers beat reporter Jovan Buha. Given the Lakers' success using Anthony Davis at center full time last season, their interest in potentially returning to a too big strategy is puzzling, in his opinion. Is there a way it can make sense? He did a deep dive, and again, about 1,500 words. He did show the statistics about what AD is playing at center as opposed to what he's now doing at power forward. Talks about and goes in detail about what happens on both ends of the floor. Again, when you talk about having LeBron playing the four because he really cannot play the three at this point in time anymore in his career, the two big idea as far as in the starting lineup is starting to make less and less sense for me. But then you have LakerTom at LakerTom on Twitter, who we love oh so much on this show, no matter how strange his opinions sometimes are. But he said in his, and I showed this to you as far as I sent this to you in email, his response. LakerTom says, great discussion of cons on the two big model, but he thinks the two big model is a smart way for the Lakers to go with AD, but it must have the right second big for it to work. Christian Wood and Rui are the only two big options that not only space the floor, but also allow AD to play either 4 or 5 depending on the matchup. So first off, trying to dissect that Laker Tomism right there. You're trying to pigeonhole Rui into a spot where I'm not sure it's the best smart move. Again, in Spurs, he can play the five for you, but he's not a rim protector. He's not someone that can go ahead and he just continuously play against the big guys. Joel Embiid would eat his lunch eventually. You saw Jokic eventually eat his lunch after a nice initial, burst where he was something that the Lakers threw at him and they couldn't figure it out for a little while, but they figured it out eventually. Some of the bigger centers in the league are not going to be able to go ahead and have too much trouble with a 6'8" guy on them. So before we go ahead and call him a big, I would just still call him a forward. I would call him interchangeable as far as in the four. maybe small ball five spot, playing him in only in spots. But then again, you go to the situation, Magic Man, we had last year, Rui and LeBron as your pseudo center playing on the court together. On the defensive end, that just didn't work.
No, Gerald, it didn't. It didn't work, but for a couple different reasons. LeBron himself as a center, Gerald, underneath the basket, is still a very strong man and commands again a lot of respect with his strength and his ability and his smarts and his ability to read plays. So I think from that perspective, he's fine as a small ball center. And you're right, only in spurts. Uh, when you get him out in the perimeter and he's against somebody or Rui, somebody like Carl Anthony Towns or somebody like Trey Lyles, for example. They're taller. They could get their shot off very quickly, and as we've seen, Gerald, when Rui's on Jokic, he can hold his own. Different matchups. Say he's matched up with Carl Anthony Towns. We saw the bad of Rui playing small ball center in that case. So you're right. I think it spurts is fine. uh, Rui, you're right, Gerald. In spurts, he is a front court utility player. Against smaller, more plotting half court lineups, Rui might be able to get away with being a three for a few minutes. But for the most part, he's going to be your four. And LeBron is a four as well. Spot minutes at the five only because they will just, as Gerald has said, the longer they play at the five, the less efficient and more exploitative they are defensively. They just get eaten up.
Yeah, and that was the problem because when Gabriel couldn't cut the mustard, Mo Bamba couldn't even cut mustard. So it's just simple the fact that there just was not a great answer. And I know Adam's in the chat, and Adam was saying, "Well, we need three dominant bigs to match up with the Celtics because like a lot of people out there, the Celtics are believed to be the favorite in the Eastern Conference or close to it." The problem is though, we'd only have one dominant big. I do not consider LeBron James at the point of his career to be just considered a big center. And I don't consider
No.
Rui, who's an inch smaller than LeBron and maybe about 5 to 10 pounds lighter, although they're pretty close now these days. They look pretty similar in size at this point in time. He's 6'8". I wouldn't consider him a big either per se. If you're talking about bigs, you're talking to me about 6'10", 6'11", 7-footers that are out there. I don't know if we actually can get that. Jackson Hayes, again, if you're banking on Jackson Hayes to come in on a minimum contract after he failed miserably in New Orleans, he is a reclamation project. And I'm hoping that he can go ahead with what's going on with the Lakers and hopefully along with Rui Hashimura and how he has been a reclamation project that's worked out well. I'm hoping that Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish from that same draft, the 8, 9, 10 slots, can also find that same kind of reclamation. But that's a lot to ask. That's a lot to bank on. That you are going to go ahead and bank on Jackson Hayes becoming a dominant big and finding something that he's not had yet in 4 years in the NBA.
Yeah, tall ask right there. Tall
That's a
ask.
tall ask.
Because he's had 4 years now to prove himself basically against backup centers in the NBA, Gerald. And unfortunately, at the end of that 4 years, New Orleans evaluated him as a player and said, nope.
Now,
Uh,
Endorphin's saying now Rui needs to become a better outside shooter too. Now, I'm not asking Endorphin for him to be 48% from behind the arc like he was during the playoffs. I think if anybody's asking for that and demanding that or expecting that to happen throughout the course of an 82 game season, 83 if you play that wonderful NBA Cup, I seriously doubt that's going to happen. But the 31 to 32% 3-point shooter that he was traded over onto this team that he is during the regular seasons, that has to change. He has to be for the money now that we're paying him a 37 to 38%. That's right in the middle. That's right in the middle of what he shot in the playoffs and right in the middle of what he shot as far as during the regular seasons of the past 4 seasons. So I think he has to become a key for him is to become a consistent outside shooter during the regular season. If that's the case, that helps us with that 27th. We were 27th in 3-point accuracy last year, and that to me is just that that's the part that's somewhere where you need to start. You need to say, hey, that sticks out like a sore thumb. If you can improve that, and remember how bad we were at the beginning of the season, Magic, that has to improve, and it could start with Rui. And if Rui can go ahead and become at least a mid-level shooter during the regular season, my God, that would help so much.
Yeah, Gerald. I mean, you used to talk about like, man, it's even less than like 6, 7 years ago. If if your guy can shoot 35% from beyond the arc, he's an average 3-point shooter. And if you're an average 3-point shooter, you make enough to take enough. Now it's gone up a little more, right, Gerald? It's more
Mhm.
specialized skill. You need to be just a little bit more accurate, just a little bit more. 34.7% won't cut it, guys. You need to be at least 37.5, 38%, like Gerald said, in that mid range. And
Well,
that's
but
just
well, let me say this though. If as I said before a couple weeks ago, when it comes to LeBron and this overall 27% shooting, as far as overall for team, he's 32% from behind the arc last year, and we all know how miserable it was watching him shoot and chuck up all those threes. If he goes back to what he once was at times, because he flip flops between a 36 to 37% shooter and a 30 to 32% shooter, if he flips back to the 36-37% shooter on the volume that he has, that improves greatly our chances of success. With Rui becomes a 35, 36, 37% shooter during the regular season, that improves us greatly. Plus, also the guys, if those guys that we brought in each shoot anywhere near what they normally shoot, if Gabe Vincent even comes up a couple ticks from his career average, my gosh, that could at least, if we even get into the top 20, if we move up 10 spots on 3-point percentage, that does so much more for the Lakers as far as their overall offense is concerned.
absolutely, Gerald. That would point to a couple things going on. One, either Anthony Davis and or LeBron are super efficient at the rim, or and obviously getting to the line, and or two, because it could be both, is that the half court offense is basically uh, upticking. It's upticking with shots at the rim. It's upticking with 3-point percentage. And you're right, Gerald. All the Lakers, if the Lakers just upticked a little bit with that three, and you're now in somewhere between the 18 to 22 range as far as 3-point shooting goes. That's huge. That's huge because you're almost an average 3-point shooting team at that point. And if you're an average 3-point shooting team, you have to respect uh, the ability of the team to take them and make them. And as we saw in the Western Conference Finals, Denver just didn't respect their shot.
Tell you what, though, my friend, again, these are things, little things that you see when you take time to go ahead and do the deep dive when it comes to the Lakers. Figure out where is the need, where is the things that we need to work on. That's why when we did our profiles last week on each and every one of the new guys, nothing really popped for me. But again, it didn't say failure. The defensive ratings were kind of disappointing, but there's hope that each and every one of those individuals in a different defense can go ahead and be a lot better. The shooting percentages from all these guys wasn't great, but if they even just move up a couple points on each and every one of them, that would make things so much better. If Cam Reddish goes ahead and becomes a 33 to 35, 36% shooter, that can make it a whole world of difference from what everybody out there expects. Because outside of the huge Cam Reddish on Twitter fans, nobody really expects Cam Reddish to break in the rotation. He is a reach by Rob Palinka, and if he could go ahead and make it happen, that's the key. I'll tell you what. Again, this is something where it gets back to the two bigs. Unfortunately, again, when it comes to the two bigs, Magic Man, we need to find someone that can go ahead and cover threes, someone that is a three. And Cam Reddish, if he is able to shoot with any kind of consistency, I know he's a dark horse. I know he's a long shot. I know he's probably the one of the latter options for the Lakers as a starting three. But if he can find his way through and find some consistency and what the talent and belief, or Jackson Hayes, my gosh, if those guys pop like they were supposed to coming out of the lottery, that could mean a lot. That could mean the world for the Lakers this season.
Yeah, it would, Gerald. And it wouldn't again, we shouldn't be shocked or surprised if him does this. If he puts Cam Reddish out there in sort of a bigger lineup where he's asking him to guard, he's 6'8", so he may ask him to guard, smaller twos and threes, and perhaps maybe that's when Cam Reddish can take advantage of his minutes, Gerald, and understand, I need to get open. I need to make the open shots. I'm 6'8". My opponent is 6'5", 6'4", 6'6". I can shoot over top of them. I need to have a sense of awareness on the court at all. And that's the number one thing again, when you're one of these players who, you have that itch to scratch that you want to be a consistent role player, then you fit into a role and you played that role to the best of your ability, and then and only then will a team perhaps maybe allow you to have a little bit more on your plate. But I think it starts with Cam Reddish uh, being opportunistic with the minutes he gets, Gerald. I mean, we talked about it with his signing, right? He is
Well, he has to
a
come into camp ready. He has to
right,
see
yeah.
this as a last destination for him. Otherwise, Europe will be calling on him real quick.
Yeah,
So
if he shows up in that first practice, and obviously it's seen that he's playing like it's his last practice of his life, then this again, you said it, Gerald, that it might be a new Cam Reddish because it's all about him, right? It's his attitude coming into camp that will ultimately change whether or not he gets an opportunity. Because at some point he will. At some point, Ham's going to call his number. He's going to go in there, and he's going to have to make the best of it.
absolutely. And again, since the Lakers are more of an up tempo team than most teams in the NBA, his skill set could work out to that advantage if he just shoots anywhere near competently from behind the arc. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. It is our talk about whether or not too big or not too big. That is the question in Lakers land. So we'll go ahead and finish up on that here in a few. But I wanted to go ahead and touch on something that Search Destroy said. And I did bring up a lot of ifs, and that's a lot of ifs I talked about earlier, Sean. But the thing is, though, Search, with these ifs, are a lot of options compared to last year. We just didn't have the kind of bench. We had individuals after you got past the seventh, maybe eighth guy. There were just not options there that would work for you on any type of basis. I just feel that even though these guys are flawed that we brought in and each have their own flaws, I just think that they have the opportunity to be a more well-rounded and deeper bench than what they had last season. I just think they have a little bit more to offer. I think there's a little bit more skill there. I think there's a little bit more potential. That's something we didn't see. I mean, for instance, Wenyan Gabriel when he was on the team last year, he was thought of as an eighth, ninth guy quite often in the rotation. And we don't have a guy like Wenyan Gabriel in an eighth, ninth guy in a rotation. Our rotation is a lot deeper before we get to someone that says, "Oh, he's out there. Oh my gosh, we're in trouble."
Yeah, we we are, especially if something like that happens. But at the moment, right now, I think we're a strong nine, Gerald. You know, Sands a backup center to solidify the bench. I think if Max Christie evolves and meets expectations or even exceeds them, I think you can roll with a 10 deep lineup there, Gerald, and then you have a little bit more versatility, but you
Well, the
still
thing
have.
though with Christie though is he's 6'6", which is just right on the cut line for shooting guard slash small forward, but he's very slight of build still. He's gotten a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger, but he's still very slight of build compared to some other individuals that are out there that are playing basketball, right? Especially at the three spot. I think guarding threes will be extremely difficult for him. So that's why I think he's a great option as Austin Reeves backup and primarily. And then you have Cam Reddish, who is taller by 2 inches and a little bit, stronger, has a little bit more weight on him. He is someone that probably is more best suited to going ahead and guarding threes. Heck, he even tried out the four in a certain number of spots last year, but I would rather hold him to being a three. Torian Prince, at his age, we talked about it yesterday, he is leaning more towards a four for me. So I think when it comes to finding the slots for some of these players, I think it's going to be about rotational matchups and things of that nature. But again, Cam Reddish, as someone who we see right now as the 12th guy, possibly in the rotation, depending on the matchups, he could find more minutes than what we anticipate.
Yeah, I agree, Gerald. And like you said, it obviously it's going to be uh, probably touch and go as Ham likes to experiment. We saw that last year. I understand. Before the season started, he said, I'm a consistent guy, like going with the same five guys all the time, and he had over almost 40 different starting lineups throughout the year. So Gerald's right. There's just going to be an expectation, I think, from about uh, number 8 to number 12 and on, that you might play 5 minutes tonight, you might play 30. It all depends on the matchups. And Gerald's right that it just needs to be direct. I and that's the only thing that these guys want. They're professionals. Just be direct with them. We ask you to play a role, and tonight you may only play 5 minutes. You may play 30. I think that's fair, Gerald, given the circumstances and where we find ourselves.
Because these are could be the possibly the last chances for Cam Reddish and Jackson Hayes.
That's right. That's right. And obviously they know it too, right? That's why you're being told you may only play 5 minutes tonight. I mean, if you were in demand, and we had to sign you to a 3 or 4 year deal for 13 or 14 million, we'd be getting a different Jackson Hayes. But we're getting the Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish on Vetmans right now, and you need to show us and the other 29 other teams that you're more valuable than what the league thinks you are right now. And it starts with you guys. You guys are going to get minutes. It's up to you to decide your own fate here. And you're right, Gerald. Some guys catch on to that very quickly, and they play like their life depends on it. And then some guys don't. We're
If
hoping that Reddish and Hayes are the ones that do understand that urgency.
if Christie and Reddish play well, Torian Prince is the guy that's sitting on the bench
Hmm.
because they don't have a need for him because you have Rui playing the four backup four and coming off the bench for that, or playing a predominant amount of time at four. Jackson Hayes at the five as a backup center. Again, still have got to see more than what I saw with him in New Orleans. Cam Reddish. I don't have big expectations for Cam Reddish, but the theory of Cam Reddish could make things happen if he finds his shot from the outside. Again, this is a team that accentuates his skills very well, so could be a possibility. But again, I'm not holding out hope for that. I think Torian Prince, by reputation and the fact he did pay a little bit more to get him, I think that he's going to get the first opportunity in camp to go ahead and take some of those 3 or 4 slots on a backup role than Cam Reddish.
Yes, absolutely, Gerald. Because right now, it looks as though um, Max Christie is more likely to play with Torian Prince off the bench. than with Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
But Gerald's right. And very good point. Prince is the odd man out if for whatever reason either his shot is not falling and plus the defense is just not up to snuff to a level where you can live with his subpar shooting. And I think Gerald's right. There's going to come a time where there's a slump. Somebody's in a shooting slump and he's going to call Cam Reddish's number, and he better be ready because there needs to be some production there. And that's a salient point, Gerald. Prince is the odd man out here if things jackknife, because that would mean that Christie and Reddish have developed some pretty good chemistry off the
As a
bench.
2-3 right there. 2-3, and then you have Rui as your 4. These are the guys
Mhm.
coming off the bench. You have Jackson Hayes at your 5. Gabe Vincent, though. Thing is, we haven't talked about this. Again, the Lakers, despite our misgivings on Russell Westbrook, and I said it's our pretty much our agreement that this could very well be the Russell Westbrook trade was the worst trade that the Lakers have ever done in their history. The fact is, though, he could give you, as far as the tempo is concerned, coming off the bench, he could push the ball up the floor. Will Gabe Vincent playing in Miami for so long, where tempo really wasn't as much stressed or talked about or demonstrated, be someone that could go ahead and continue? Because again, you have D'Lo can push it up a little bit. LeBron, if things are good and he's feeling spry, obviously could push it up. The team is best suited when they're going in transition. I've said this for years. You've heard me at nauseum on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break talk about push it, push it, push it. Tempo, tempo, tempo. Fast break, fast break, fast break. This team is best suited because half court issues still are there upon the horizon for the Lakers. So I think, again, it's in their best interest, too bigs or not too bigs, to go ahead and play an tempo style. Do you think Gabe could be the backup guard to do just that?
Uh yes, I do, Gerald, because he's actually done this before. Look, when the Miami Heat decided that they were going to sign and trade for Kyle Lowry, I don't think the organization nor the player himself had was expecting a dramatic decline um, in his athleticism, Gerald, because it fell off a cliff from his last year in Toronto to basically his second year with the Heat. That the Spo had to make a decision, Gerald, because Lowry just was not working out in the starting spot. So they gave it to Vincent. Um, again, Miami was kind of up and down with Vincent in the starting lineup. But one thing was for sure, Gerald, he did give them a bit of a jolt, especially in transition. His ability to defend both guard positions, even though he may be small for his size, he is very strong and is not shy about guarding bigger twos. However, like you said, it was mixed results. So I think that for the most part, I think Vincent can help the Lakers in transition and in the half court. But I think you're right, Gerald. He needs to have more of an impact in transition, either making his open shots or finding the open man.
Hunter brought up something good, a suggestion out there, talking in the best Lakers chat room that's out there, the Lakers Fast Break. She's talking about D'Angelo Russell's recent appearance on, was it Pat Bev's show? I know Pat Bev was on it
Yeah.
because you can't miss Pat Bev. There was a third individual, I forget who it was, but yeah, Pat Bev and he was throwing bouquets of flowers at D'Angelo, an individual that was, they never actually played together on the Lakers. They kind of like were ships passing in the night, but they were, he was throwing D'Angelo, and D'Angelo was just taking all those flowers and, is talking about, Jokic, like she said, Hunter indicated Jokic the best player, but also as well the contract involved about how much he felt he deserved as opposed to how much he signed. When it comes to D'Angelo, Hunter, I just think, again, we saw he's a regular season player. And when it comes to the playoffs, he's going to be exploited. I understand he had the couple good games, especially the one full rounded game that he gave us in Memphis. He always gives you spurts like right after halftime. He'll give you. Remember a couple times after halftime, he made like 3 or 4 shots in a row, or he'll give you that burst where you think, "Oh man, can he go ahead and sustain this over the course of 4 quarters?" Rarely did he sustain it over 4 quarters. The thing is, though, over the course of the regular season, with his accuracy on his 3 pointers last year, it showed that if you have him in there for regular season, you're great. You're doing pretty good. But for the most part, though, in Minnesota, they got rid of him because they were better off with him off the floor than on it. So it's just hard to tell, hard to gauge D'Angelo because of the fact that he is such a liability on the defense. How much he can contribute to a playoff team, and can he get you all the way to where you want to go? Is last year or last season as far as you can go with D'Angelo Russell, Magic Man?
Yeah, Gerald, that interview is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Him
Oh,
him him
Pat Bev
ex-
was throwing him flowers left and right. Here's some more flowers. There you go. You're so
and,
great. You're
and
so
also
great, D'Angelo.
yeah, it was a hug fest. Let's hug you, you hug me. I
Yes.
also I also found it funny how he intimated that he knows whether or not he's being traded by the way the janitorial staff treats him, which I thought was just a little overcomplicating the issues there, D'Angelo. I mean, I think you're thinking too deeply about certain things, other than maybe you know being very productive on the floor and not worrying about what other people think or are saying. But yes, Gerald, uh, I it seems like D'Lo is basically a safety net for the regular season and or a
Or until the trade
asset,
deadline.
right? And then an asset, a depreciating asset that they can try and use to get something in return. But you hope it's an appreciating asset. You hope that he's actually performing well and playing above board, especially defensively. I mean, if there's any slight improvement there and he keeps his production up offensively, I think the Lakers will be able to find suitors for him at the trade deadline for sure.
Uh,
But again, that's really incumbent upon D'Lo to play better defensively because if perhaps the it's the best of both worlds where he
if Gabe is solid, Gabe Vincent is solid, and he's faltering and whatnot, I would see Ham eventually leaning into the possibility of starting him above D'Lo. And I talked to you
yeah.
before about how this is probably the most important season for D'Angelo Russell's career because we will see if he still can be considered a starting point guard, a confident starting point guard, or if he should be brought off the bench. I think that this year will dictate his future going forward.
It will. It will. And again, he's a guard who has very good uh instincts. However, as Stone Hansen has said before, D'Lo's processing skills are below average to at times poor, Gerald. So
Mhm.
he needs to find ways in which he is a much more efficient player offensively as well. He had timely threes in the playoffs, especially against Golden State. But we need him to be more selective with his outside shot, Gerald, especially when it's not falling. He has a tendency to be a player who's, he'll make his first two, but he'll miss his next four, but he will continue to shoot. And all of a sudden, instead of being maybe 2 for 7, having, 4 boards and 8 assists, he'll be 2 for 12, 3 boards and 2 assists. He needs to be really, really more selective and a better processor, especially in the half court, because with Rui, with Vando, with Prince, through in Max Christie and Gabe Vincent. All 5 of those guys I just mentioned are all capable cutters as well. They don't necessarily need to be shooters. They all have a skill set where they can cut to the basket and finish. So uh, the Lakers and especially D'Angelo need to find a better way to process faster and more efficient what's going on out there, because he's a quick decision maker, but that doesn't necessarily make him a good one. He's a bad quick decision maker. He either needs to slow down or make better decisions.
Intel Wild says, "Are we getting Wood or not?" I don't think anybody knows at this point. Intel, I just really think that at this point, the Lakers might have already moved on. It just at some point you just got to say we're just going to go ahead and do other things. But I think Wood and his agent have played this whole situation out in free agency pretty lousy, and it's going to lead him on the outside looking in if he doesn't do something very soon. The Lakers could be very well again leaving those two spots open as we've talked about and speculated for whatever happens in training camp for other teams, and maybe willing to pick up somebody through there, whether it's Oklahoma City, whether it's in New Orleans, so one of these places with a lot of different options that may be too much as far as for the roster is concerned. They'll have to let go of some guys. So that may be just the thing, and maybe already Christian Wood is already persona non grata, and he's already on his way to Europe. So we'll see what happens there. But I think for right now, MagicMan, to close out our conversation, I really think that the two big idea, as much as I would love to institute it, even a stretch five, with LeBron James now at an advanced age, I really had some time to think about it since it was mentioned last night and some great comments last night. I forget the viewer's name that was on there. I'd have to go ahead and check what happened last
I
night.
believe it was Brian Cullen,
Yeah,
Gerald.
Brian. Yeah, he was new, someone new, and just really good point that he brought up. That's really had some time to think about it when I was stuck in the car wash today, and I really had time to think about it. And I think that with LeBron at his age and the number of minutes that you hopefully won't play him, but that I have a feeling, as I told Joe, that Ham will play him. Unfortunately, you're going to need more of a three type deal. You're going to need more Vando out there playing 15 to 25 minutes. You're going to need Rui out there spelling LeBron and AD. I think Christian Wood would be a great fit, even if you don't start him, because there's still, if everything was in a perfect world for the Lakers, guess who's still missing 15 games to 17 games during the course of the season, even if they're both healthy? And that's LeBron and AD. They will probably miss a combined 30 games at least, if not more. That's just wishful thinking on my part. So you need someone out there that's going to be able to score and pick up the slack and maybe get you a couple wins in the process. So yeah, right now I'd probably say you need a three more than you need anything else, because LeBron, if you have him chase down threes, that's asking for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it is asking for a lot of trouble. Yeah, I think you're right, Gerald. There needs to be at some point an identifiable player or situation where the Lakers can either swoop in or are circling the wagons back to, that they can trade for this three and be able to slot him in, because you're right, that needs to be a position that needs to be taken care of.
It is, and again, it's not the perfect fit. The Lakers just do not have that perfect fit. But what they have is a lot of talented individuals from 1 to about, I'm going to say 11 or 12, with depth, with individuals that can give you NBA rotational minutes, and they won't suck, in my opinion. Uh, we will see if that plays out, because as it plays out, usually that's a lot different. There's going to be some guys who are going to disappoint for you, and then some guys are going to surprise you, as we saw last year. Austin Reeves took it to another level, which surprised us as soon as the calendar year hit 2023. You saw other individuals like Rui surprise you in the playoffs. So I'm hoping that we can continue to find that magic. But then again, regular season, 82 games, like you said, Magic, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. It's up to Ham to find out of these 12 guys, depending on if or when they are traded, but most likely 82, these 12, 13, top 13 guys in your rotation to go ahead and be utilized correctly for at least the first 50, 60 games of the season before you decide what to do for the rest of the season after that.
Absolutely. Because as you said, Gerald, let's go down the list. LeBron and AD likely to miss anywhere from possible 15 to more 20 games. Gabe Vincent has been known to miss about 10, 15 games a season based on knee soreness. D'Angelo Russell has missed time because of ankle injuries, Gerald. Down the list we go. It seems that Rui and Vando are basically the only Lakers that I can think of that can, possibly play anywhere from 70 to 80 games this season and play relatively efficient because ultimately you're going to need that depth somewhere along the line. And again, kudos to Rob, the front office, and the developmental staff for surrounding the team with this kind of depth because it doesn't really or it shouldn't alarm or concern Laker fans if one guy goes down necessarily because there's another guy to pick up the slack, and there's another guy beneath him, i.e., Jackson Hayes or Cam Reddish, who are hungry and salivating at the idea of possibly playing that role as well. So, it what I love about this situation, Gerald, I think other Laker fans should take this tidbit away is that whether or not Ham ultimately goes to his majority love of the three guard lineup as mistress, or he loves the two big system. The fact of the matter is that there's an open competition for minutes in a rotation, and it's up to everybody to pull on the rope together. Because if you're not, given the circumstances and where we are with LeBron James in our history as a franchise, there's the door because somebody else is ready to fill your shoes and do what we need them to do.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you watching and listening. Once again, if you've not subscribed yet, please do so. We're so close. We're on the way to 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. If you have not yet hit the little beady-eyed Joe, go ahead and do so today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break. Before I go ahead and answer Kurt's question I have posted on the screen, Adam put into the chat, he's hoping to see Maxwell Lewis to do something in the preseason. Adam, that makes two of us. I'd like to see him do anything. 3 donuts he got in summer league. 3. And we moved up, paid how many? $4 million to move up 7 slots to get this guy. So I understand he's young. I understand we won't see the fruits of the labor until next year. But maybe we could see a little bit more, from him in the preseason. But Adam, I'm not going to hit the panic button yet with him and JHS. If they're looking like this next year, MagicMan, I am going to go on a rampage.
Oh, you will, Gerald. You will.
That's going to be after Joe will go on a rampage.
Yes, I want to see the kid do well too, because I
want to see both of them do well. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. And again, coming from a mid-major school like that, Pepperdine, not a whole lot of NBA players ever come out of Pepperdine, Gerald.
Yeah, but you're playing against
rare.
Gonzaga. You're playing
against mid-majors that produce a lot of NBA talent. So
they're on a lot of Pac-12 schedules,
Yep.
so it's not like you don't play, stiffs.
No, you
all the time.
you play adequate competition. I agree, Gerald. Yes. Yeah. So, which is surprising, right? Because when he was inserted into the starting lineup, he did play with a lot of confidence, but we didn't see that confidence in summer league. It seemed like he was very tentative, very unsure.
He looked like he looked like he was a deer caught
in the headlights. Yeah, that's a great analogy, Gerald. Looking back, that's exactly what it was. And I get it. You have this on your uniform. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in, especially when you know the team spent a lot of money to move up and you want to make a good impression because this is the most eminent franchise in the NBA. But Gerald, you know what? Sometimes it starts with slow steps. Slow steps. And I'm with Adam. I want to see Maxwell Lewis do well in the preseason. I want to see him play with confidence. Even if the shot isn't falling, even if he's getting boxed out, and it's he's finding that a man's game is a lot tougher than playing against young males or young men, and he finds more confidence in just just breathe. Just breathe, because it seems like he just needed to take a breath, Gerald, and he wasn't taking any breaths. He was just everything was just happening so fast, and like you said, it was like a deer caught in the headlights.
Before we hit Kurt's question, Katrina Richards says, and welcome. Please go ahead and subscribe, Katrina, because we'd love to have you a great part of what we do right here at the Lakers Fast Break. And if you do, it's greatly appreciated. You said how long, how far his three guard lineup. And that's something we here at the Lakers Fast Break, if you're not familiar, we absolutely loathe the three guard lineups Darvin Ham has put out there continuously over the course of the last season. We've got our favorite Zangerstein, one of our awesome individuals in our community who just cannot stand, absolutely not stand the three guard lineups. Statistically and analytically, I don't think the three guard lineups have ever really worked for any amount of time as far as on the plus minus ratio there. So I agree with you. I think it's something that no matter how many bigs we have there, no matter how many wings we have, it's still going to be a point where I'm going to see some three guard lineups, whether I like it or not. Yeah, it's just going to be something that Darvin Ham feels. It's like comfort food, Sean, for Darvin Ham. It's like comfort food, and unfortunately, comfort food, and a lot of times, is not very good for you, and neither are these three guard lineups.
No, Gerald, you're right. Comfort food can be very bad for your waistline, and and the overall presentation as well. So I agree. It's you need to be very very selective with when you want comfort food, and too often he just gorges on it. He just gorges on it. Uh, I think he's going to go back to the well again. Unfortunately, it's a wishing well for him with the three guard lineup. And Gerald's right. I mean, the best three guard lineup that played like most of the time, I felt like the best version of that year was probably the Thunder when
Mhm.
they had SGA, Chris Paul, and Dennis Schroeder. But I mean, that team went got as far as the first round. So
Kurt wants five guard lineups. Do you really want to
well,
kill Zangerstein over there in the Philippines?
yeah.
She would just, yeah, we would hear that sound of Zangerstein going, ah. Yeah,
But see,
and
the
that was,
thing is,
yeah.
the thing is, if we had like a Jalen or a Jalen Williams, if we had at least one of those guys, let me tell everybody something. Zangerstein wouldn't be so hard about the three guard lineup as she is with the kind of personnel we had last year.
Yeah. Adam, that's a good point. Save the three guard lineup for Golden State because that's what they might be stuck with in Golden State a lot of the times. I will say though, Kurt says who wants to go ahead and see Maxwell Lewis play with the confidence of that female Somali runner who ran the absolute slowest 100-yard dash. Poor gal. And again, when your own country apologizes for you running in a 100-yard dash, that's really sad. I really feel for the lady. It just wishing her all the best. God bless her. At least she went out there and gave it a shot. Yeah, mind you.
Not her
I,
fault.
no, not her fault indeed. But Intel, great evening. Have a great evening, my friend. We're almost out of here ourselves, but I wanted to answer one last question from Kurt. Do you see any of the young guns stepping up outside of Christie? You know, I think the young gun that might have to step up for me is Cam Reddish. I really
Mhm.
think of the young guns because okay, well, why you say that? He's not young. He is young. He's younger than Colin Castleton. He's young. I mean, he's young as Max Christie, I think. I mean, they're roughly the same age. So no, actually, no. Christie's probably a year younger, but still,
Yeah, I
you're
think
talking about
Christie. Yeah, I think Reddish is 24. Christie's 22.
22, 20. Okay, so but Colin Castleton's
At
24.
that age, yeah,
Demoy
like
Hodge is
yeah,
23,
Demoy
24.
Hodge and Cam Reddish are like the same age.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
I
So I
may
agree with Gerald. Cam Reddish is one of those young guns. Yeah,
I the one I would like to see get time would be Demoy Hodge. I'd love to see, 6'3", 6'4". We talked about his height, that being an issue, but the guy can stroke it from three, and if he shoots like he did in summer league, my God, eventually this kid will find a place in the NBA. As soon as the expansion hits, if he doesn't make it with the Lakers, he'll make it, on somebody's roster once leagues expand and you get those two new teams in there because that's 30 more spots. So a guy like that, DeMoy Hodge, will find a place, I'm pretty sure, in the NBA if he continues to shoot like that. But which of the young guys might cut? I would say right now, to be honest, eh, if the Lakers keep themselves in the top 10 in pace, Cam Reddish might be the guy because, athletically, this is what he does. It's what he's supposed to do. If he can shoot anywhere consistently, as far as in the mid 30s, that would be, he'd be acceptable to leave out in the court for more than just 10 minutes a game. I think of the young guys, that he might be the one I have the most faith in. But then again, Castleton, they might keep him on the big roster. Although again, he is 3 fouls in 3 minutes waiting to happen because he doesn't have the discipline yet, no matter how talented he is. DeMoy Hodge, I just don't think we'll get a chance unless there's injuries to the team, unless he shoots the lights out again in preseason. So Jackson Hayes, maybe I would, if he starts, anything is possible. Jackson Hayes could easily find himself out of the rotation, or he could find himself starting in those two big lineups that we don't like at all.
yeah, exactly, Gerald. It again. I think if you had to rate the impact um list, it'd probably be
Christie is
Max.
the low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
Christie, after
of
summer league,
course.
he's the low
No
hanging fruit.
hanging
He's
fruit.
the one everybody
He
expects to go ahead and
he'd be
pop.
number one. I then slot Demoy Hodge just after him, but I think Gerald's right. Short of injuries and him just busting, just busting at the seams from beyond the arc. Short of that, I don't think he's going to see a lot of time. But his shooting was impressive enough to give him some time in the preseason to see if it could continue. After that, I agree with Gerald. I think Cam Reddish and then Colin Castleton would be below him. Colin, as Gerald has said, just the his upside is like amazing. Everybody could see it. I just think it's a matter of processing skills. The game, as Gerald has mentioned, the game is just too fast for him right now, and he's prone to just ticky tack little stupid fouls that young players are prone to.
But
And
also, well, if we're talking Castleton, just because he's out there, because the rookie big men, they're just like foul magnets. It's just going to
yeah,
happen.
oh
The
yeah,
refs, I don't know if it's designed
it's
by the
blood in
refs.
the water. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know what it is, but it's just yeah, it's like an easy meal ticket when you have a young inexperienced big at the rim. It's a meal ticket.
Kurt, I will tell you right now. I don't know if you were here in the days like late this, was it like February, March, whatnot, when everybody was really going off on Twitter and in our chat room in regards to going ahead for Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish needs to be a Laker. Cam Reddish needs to be a Laker. We need to trade for Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish. And I got so annoyed. I was like yelling at the audience in regards to Cam Reddish. Well, we now have Cam Reddish. And this again, it's his time to go ahead and prove all those guys and gals that were supporting him on Twitter and loving the highlight reels and not seeing the bigger picture. It's their time. It's their time to go ahead, prove it or shut up. It's the point of time. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping I'm proven wrong, because if that's the case, that means Cam is in a regular part of the rotation. I'm looking forward to it. But great comments though, everybody in the chat. Actually got one here again before we head on out. Katrina Richards, Great job as well. Great comments. Darvin's 3-guard lineup did not work for the Lakers, winning it. Preaching to the choir, Katrina. Preaching to the choir. No rebounding, no shot blockers, because then you have Rui and LeBron, who again just they're not giving you what you need as far as rim protection at all, or height to alter people's shots in the paint. We need size. You live by the three, you die by the three. I just wanted to get better. If we were in the top 20, like 19th or 20th in 3-point accuracy, Katrina, as opposed to 27th, that would do us a world of good. We don't need to take many more shots during the game as far as from behind the arc. I just hope we're more accurate. And again, if we keep the pace in the top 5 in the league, MagicMan, go to the free throw line 200, 400 more times than the opposition, that's a recipe for success. That's a recipe for a good season for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes, it is, Gerald. And as we had to point out to those Nimrods last year, um, the reason
Cam
why.
Reddish, man, he's been looking good, man. Cam Reddish, man. Cam Reddish is looking good. We got to get him out of the Lakers, man. That's all I heard.
Yes, I know, I
I
know.
think I screamed, "Shut up! Shut up!"
Can we stop with this, please?
Oh,
It
I
seems
know.
like every reclamation project that's out there that once had some promise. Yep, let's just circle the wagons back to the Lakers. Well,
Yep.
the Lakers are pretty good at doing that, but they can't. There's no Midas touch. You can't turn water to wine. You
Well, the
can't
Lakers have
turn
their
water
own
to
out there.
wine. Yeah.
Russell Westbrook is a reclamation
Oh
project from
yes.
and where because he failed with the Lakers. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
works both ways, my friend.
Yeah, it does, Gerald. But as soon as they made that trade, I think Rob thought he could walk on water, and he drowned the whole thing.
I'm not huge on Cam Reddish either, Kurt. Again, I was literally getting angry at people because it was just all I heard is Cam Reddish, Cam Reddish, Cam Reddish, trade for Cam Reddish. It's just the thing is in this team, you understand he has a certain skill set that he can provide you with his athleticism and the fact that this is the team that's going to want to push the ball up. At least we're hoping with Gabe Vincent. I don't know. Gabe Vincent really didn't get much of those opportunities in Miami, so we'll see. I hope the edict to him is you get the ball, you push it up. You push it up because the more you play in half court is the more to our detriment here on this team still. We're not a good half court team. We're maybe a little bit better incrementally because we've got some incrementally better shooters now on the team than we did last season. But still, the team is best when they're up in the tempo and they're getting the free throw line. That's what we're doing best. That's what we should continue to do. So let's hope that Cam can thrive in that type of offense. Let's hope we can find something that can go ahead and meet alongside LeBron and AD. But right now, I probably put Vando. I probably put Vando in that lineup. I think if you're putting Jackson Hayes alongside LeBron and AD, again on a team where you're playing against that has some really solid threes, like for instance Phoenix with their lineup, that would not be a good matchup for the Lakers as far as
Mm.
defensively. That's gonna who's gonna cover Durant, who's gonna cover Booker, who's gonna cover there's just who's gonna cover Beal. Do you have enough players to go ahead and be able to find the way to go ahead and defense if you don't have Vando out there. So that would be my concern. But yeah, overall, again, they don't have the perfect fit for the starting lineup. They have a lot of quality players who can make contributions, and I think that's not going to be too bad for the Lakers. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, I agree, Gerald. I agree. Not everything's going to be 1,000%, and he's not going to get credit for making every correct move. Nobody is, but Rob's put together a competent, looks good on paper, depth squad around LeBron and AD and Gerald. As you said, the chips are going to fall where they may, but ultimately, I think the takeaway is that although in a perfect world they probably like to play a two big lineup with AD, it's more than likely that he's going to play the center position for about 99% of the minutes in the playoffs, and that's really the only formula that you can make to make sure that the Lakers secure a championship.
Adams says, I know I said this before, but Cam Reddish was actually a big part of the rotation when the Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So if you look at the stats, Adam, I remember he was coming off an injury, if I remember correctly. So he didn't play the
Yeah.
full time. He didn't play the full amount of games that they played in the playoffs. He only played 4 games. If you take a look at his stats, he hit an astonishing 64% from behind the arc. Now, if he shoots 64% from behind the arc during the regular season for Los Angeles Lakers, I will agree. Tell you what, I will go out of my way to agree with you, Adam. That's the case. And he hits 64% consistently behind the arc from three. Most likely he's not. Most likely he'll revert back to the 30% 3-point shooter that he is during the regular season. In fact, his career average is 32%. So I want to make sure I got that correct. 32% from behind the arc, and it's drifted badly after in the past with his past I think 3 teams. So we'll see what happens here. Again, I'm hoping for the best for him. I'm not counting on a whole lot, but I'm hoping if one of these guys sticks that Rob is taking a flyer on, whether it's Jackson Hayes or him, I'm hoping it's him because he provides us something that we kind of need since a too big lineup doesn't really make sense anymore.
No, it does not. Especially against the teams you're trying to compete against to get to the finals. Denver almost explicitly does not play a too big lineup. Now you can call Michael Porter Jr. a big, but Michael Porter Jr. plays mostly on the perimeter and outside the 3-point line at this point. Gerald, um, Aaron Gordon as well. However, teams are not playing that plodding, methodical style anymore. Basically the Knicks, the Sixers, the Bucks at times, but even can you really call the Bucks, Giannis and Brook, a traditional big lineup, especially with Lopez's ability to shoot the three? Not really. So it's more of either teams have gone to a complete like one center four out Gerald, or there's some kind of hybrid going on, like with the Bucks or with what the Lakers tried to do it last year and in 2020 more successfully. So yeah, it's like the two big lineup is slowly dying out.
A lot of optimism there. Kurt says Cam was shooting about 40% before he got traded to New York, and then it was all downhill. Yes, if you look at the stats, yeah, it went extremely downhill. And he said he did have about 11 points per game in Portland, so there's promise. But you got to remember, that was a team that was tanking when he was given an opportunity, so he got a fair ton of shots. Again, I don't have much, confidence that something's going to be done. Cam's going to be a prove it to me type player, but if it pops, he's probably the one that could probably be the best fit for the Lakers in that starting lineup. But then again, that's a very big if, and that's something if he can find that untapped potential. If the Lakers can untap that potential, he might actually work out to be the biggest long shot of them all. But right now, he is on the outside looking in, and I think Vando's the guy that they're going to put in his place. Hoping Vando has worked very hard on his shot, as was mentioned earlier in that chat, and I'm hoping he can go ahead and be the contributor that we need on both sides of the ball that the Lakers can go ahead and do. Again, great depth, a lot of guys, capable guys that are able to go ahead and do certain things for you on any given night. We just don't have the perfect fit Magic, but we'll have to make do for now.
Yes, sure. We'll have to make do. It'll kind of be just WD-40 and tape right now. That's about what we got for either the backup setter spot or a traditional put him on lockdown 3-and-D player. I mean, those are basically the two black spots on the roster that are obviously need to be addressed, because if they're not, the Lakers will not find themselves in the NBA Finals. So, a couple big takeaways. Gerald bringing up the salient point that yes, while you need to solidify that backup setter position, you also need a traditional 3-and-D that you could insert into the starting lineup to save LeBron's legs. his sea legs for the playoffs.
That's for sure indeed. But great conversation tonight. Our chat room was the MVP once again. The best Lakers chat room that's out there right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Alice says, closing question, Sean, how many Lakers jerseys do you have? I think there were some other comments before too on your jersey. So, how many
Okay.
Lakers jerseys do you have?
Oh, okay. So I've got two Kobe's. I've got
Mhm.
everyone's side. I recently got number 8. I've been looking to get that one for a while, so I finally got that one. And of course, Cheryl's seen me in my traditional hardwood classics Kobe number
Mhm.
24. So I've got both numbers. I have Jerry West's old school form blue home blue. I've got Magic's away, his rookie jersey and Kobe's jersey, away jerseys. Uh, those are my two most prized jerseys. This one I'm wearing obviously is Kareem's home jersey from 84, 85. I need a couple more. I will take. You know what? I was actually thinking about this. I want you guys to kind of vote on it and see what jersey I want next. Because I'm thinking it's either Nick the Quick or I'm gonna get an Elgin Baylor jersey. So I'm gonna leave it up to our fantastic audience, Gerald,
Okay,
to make
because
the
if you leave it up
decision.
to Joe, he's going to tell you to
Oh,
get a Robert Sacre jersey. There you
yeah, you know what? I mean, all due respect again to Bobby Sox, and
go.
I heard he's doing well back in British Columbia. But I mean, Robert, we love you, but you were there for comic relief, brother. We really weren't relying. I think Mark Few had you there for comic
Either that
relief
or
too, bro.
how about your Chris Kaman jersey? How's your Chris Kaman Lakers jersey doing?
Oh, you know what? That'd be classic. Does
Oh yes.
somebody? Does somebody? There's got to be at least 100 guys in LA with a Chris Kaman jersey, Gerald.
Yeah. I think I think Kurt knew who all along as far as which Nick he was actually talking about. Uh, but maybe Magic Man will bid on that Wilt Chamberlain jersey that we were talking about on last night's show. It's only $4 million expected to go for. So,
Mm.
yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Right there. But once again, it's the Lakers fast break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Sorry, no Joe tonight. The internet gremlins blame Verizon in Temecula right there for you. So, unfortunately, he's not going to be here tomorrow either because he's starting off on a weekend adventure once again. Might be sailing around the Catalina Islands once again. We don't know what he's going to be doing, but said he's not going to be able to make it. When we talk to Stephen Miguel tomorrow, scheduled for 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, a little bit earlier tomorrow night because I know you East Coasterners love the earlier shows for us. So, yes, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go ahead and talk to Steve Miguel. It's our first of our NBA team previews. He's going to be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers, the situation going on with James Harden, Joel Embiid. I know that Laker Nick, our good friend out there, loves drama. There's plenty of drama in Philadelphia right now, indeed. But once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Actually, Adam says Joe needs a rant podcast. Uh, I'll have to make a note to him so you can go ahead and do just that. Kurt says it's the Catalina wine mixer that Joe's going to. Quite possibly, indeed. But yeah, he's a little bit of the bubbly, as Chris Jericho would say. Adam Hurley says, I changed my mind. I did know that there was a Van Exel for sure. Yes, Van Exel. What a great time for the Lakers. Yeah, I know they didn't win anything, but still, Van Exel, him playing was just a lot of fun for the Lakers, and
He
that was
Gerald. He is probably the most ultimate cult Laker of all time from the guard position. Just
yeah,
he was and don't give us this crap about all you haters out there. You know you envied us because we had him.
yeah.
He
Uh,
was quick. He was smooth. He was clutch. He was just about everything you're looking in a second round
yeah,
pick.
I was gonna
Jerry
just say that.
West. Jerry West selected Nick Van Exel in the second round. Again, probably the crown jewel of Jerry West's second round picks was Nick the Quick.
All right, Kurt, we'll go ahead and touch on that tomorrow. Well, actually, you know what? Since we've got the focus tomorrow on the Philadelphia 76ers, Kurt, let's go ahead and do that now. We'll wrap it up here in a few minutes then. FIBA talk tomorrow for the Lakers. Unfortunately, it's going to just be Austin Reeves as far as it's concerned. A decent FIBA team put together. I'm not sure if they can go all the way with it. Team Canada, your neck of the woods is really stacked. And then Bontemps, I guess, from ESPN thinks Shea is in the same class as Luca. I don't know. Shea is more efficient than Luca as far as on the same type of volume. I just think Luca is more of an attraction, more of a guy that's going to go ahead and get players on the defense to think about it. Shea doesn't scare as many people yet, but he could, he's close to being a top 10. He's already right around on the fringe of the top 10 player in this league. He was in the MVP running and all that. So I still lean towards Luca, but the gap is not as wide as you think, in my opinion.
I agree 100%, Gerald. Look, let's just go by the naked eye. Well, it may look like Luca perhaps is the more dominant scorer, the more versatile scorer. The fact remains is that Luca relies a lot on the 3-point shot. SGA does not. Um, he takes less than three threes a game, and I think what people are going to find is that with now Chet Holmgren inserted into the starting lineup, I think SGA is going to take even less threes, Gerald, because he doesn't have to.
Oh.
SGA is probably a top 3, 4 creator driving. Nobody produces efficiency either from free throws or attempts at the rim than SGA does. He's probably the most underrated creator we have in the NBA. It's easy for him. He makes it look effortless. Again, I think it's very close. I agree with Gerald. Perhaps Luca is a little better now, but I think overall SGA has a more well-rounded offensive game, and I think he's going to end up being a better player.
So I think that FIBA World Cup is going to be looking pretty good. I think there's going to be a lot of competitiveness. I don't think there's any one team that's going to be a humongous favorite right now. I think there's pluses and minuses to every team that we've seen as far as lined up here. A lot of NBA talent's going to be there on display. Looking forward to it. The USA opens up their schedule as far as their exhibitions before they head out to the World Cup tomorrow night, I believe, against Puerto Rico here in Vegas, of all things. It's funny because they're trying to give away these tickets almost, and they still can't get people to go ahead and go and check it out. I know that I saw billboards flashing all over Las Vegas with 50% off codes, just to give you an idea. So it's something where people are not yet really embracing it because it's not the top tier
No,
team that we want as far as the Olympic team is concerned. So yeah.
no. But you know what, Gerald? I have to say it's cool and weird at the same time to see Carmelo Anthony as a coach now. It's like
Mhm.
because I do remember when he was once he's probably the most decorated United States men's basketball Olympian of all time, Gerald.
Mhm.
3 gold medals, Beijing, 2012 was in London, and
Mhm.
2016 was where, Gerald? I think Brazil, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, Carmelo's
Rio.
Rio. That's right. That was the one. Number one all time in points for the United States. Number one all time in games played. Again, like obviously the most decorated Olympian from the USA basketball of all time. Again, pretty cool to see him coaching up, and hopefully, Austin Reeves is able to pick his brain about how to be just a bull from the baseline in, because that's pretty much the only spots where he hasn't been able to use his body to pick up fouls. Gerald, you know, he's been able to be a terror going north to south downhill. But it seems like, if he could get those side baseline um, position and learn how to use his body there. I think picking somebody's brain like Carmelo Anthony would be great for somebody like Austin Reeves.
Good question. It will be hosted by the Philippines, Japan, and Indonesia starting later this month on August 25th. So we'll see what happens. It's going to September 10th. So it's going to be about 2 weeks of good action. So we'll be following it along with you. So tomorrow, though, we have Stephen Bigel coming for the Philadelphia 76ers preview. Great to have him back for the Bird Rights podcast. And we should probably hear some noise on an extension for Anthony Davis. So we'll see if that's offered and accepted. So tomorrow's the first date. The Lakers can go ahead and do that. We'll see. So, yep, absolutely. So great to have you here. We're heading on out. MagicMan, any last thoughts before we go for the evening and tomorrow's team preview, starting with the 76ers?
Go big or go home. Unless you're big, it's Damian Jones, Mo Bamba, or Wendy Gabriel.
Well, you might add Jackson Hayes on the list. I hope not.
I hope not.
I hope
but
not.
Gerald had to say that. I know we had to say that.
I have to say that.
It may be in a long list, Jackson. You don't know.
Yep. Samir asks, can't wait to ask tomorrow why Embiid cries so much. That's going to be a great portion of our conversation. And if Steven anticipates Embiid not being a 76er for that much longer. So we'll see. Kurt Affair says, thanks again. Goatee gentlemen, bye all and have a good one. My goatee is only going to stay a little while longer, but before it gets irritated, but we'll see what happens when it comes to the Lakers tomorrow. Will AD get an extension? Will Embiid be gone from the Sixers in the not too distant future? We'll talk about all those subjects and more when Stephen Bigel stops by tomorrow, right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening to the best Lakers chat room that's out there, right here at the Lakers Fast Break.